So, Coach Nappy, just a few minutes.
Oh, 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 oh.
You're good.
Now,
Good evening, Bobcat Nation. Welcome to another edition of the Bobcat Blitz Sports Update. Happy belated New Year to all our Bobcat friends and family. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season. My name is Sean Kirkpatrick. I'm coming to you live from my office. Long story, you don't need to know why, but we're going to have a nice, quiet version so I can actually hear my guests for a change. Thank you for joining us today. You might have seen already that boys basketball was canceled tonight. IMG had some scheduling issues. They're still working on that. But if you're watching this, you still have time to get on over to Port Charlotte High. Lady Bobcats will love the away support. Their rival across the town there to take on Lady Pirates. That's going to be a 7:30 tip-off, though. Guys, thank you so much. Like I said, we're gonna have a really special guest on here in just a moment, but I do want to catch up with one guest here in particular because this weekend they've got something very special. Coach Nappy, how are you doing this year?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
All right. So I last saw you, gosh, it feels like a month ago. And I know during the break you had some wrestling going on. You got something else coming up this weekend. What happened and what's coming up next?
We do. We had our district duels. We did all right there. Could have done better. We'll work on that. But also had a few tournaments. Ocala. We were up in the villages up there. We had some placers. And then last week, probably one of the toughest tournaments of the year over at Lake Gibson. Also had some medalists there. So good wrestling going on. We're getting better as we get deeper in the season.
Now you're about halfway through, what I guess, the January time. You're about halfway through.
Yep.
What are just real quickly? What are some surprises you've seen? Some positive surprises on the wrestling side, boys and girls.
Yeah, so seeing some girls beating some ranked girls that our girls aren't ranked, and seeing them beating some of these ranked girls is really great. And also some of the younger guys, the underclassmen, pulling their weight around here, especially in some of the duels. Squeaking out some wins for us. So it's been exciting.
That's awesome. Now, I really wanted you to come on today because I know something special is happening Friday and Saturday, and we're going to try to come by. I can't leave work early to announce any of that, but I do want to get a promo of it. What's happening this weekend here at Northport High School's wrestling?
So this will be our third or fourth annual John Joyce Memorial Tournament. So John Joyce was a coach here at the high school, gave a lot back to the youth. We coached together in youth, also here at the high school, and unfortunately he passed away 4 years ago to cancer. And in his honor, we've been doing this tournament. Unfortunately, last year we couldn't do it. We couldn't get refs, but we're back this year, hopefully stronger than ever, and very excited for that.
Now, this is where I first bumped into you guys 3 years ago. The year before you got skipped, and I was shocked. I've never been into a Northport High School wrestling match, and there was, I want to say, 4 mats on the floor. The whole thing was spilled everywhere. There's kids. I'm like, this place is rocking. What's the format of this Friday and Saturday? 'Cause I came in on a Saturday morning when I saw it.
Yep. So this one is actually our first girls and boys. So Friday is going to be girls. We're going to run through. We try to get the girls tournament done Friday. We have to. And we'll do some of the champion matches for the boys just to get it going. So that'll be Friday. And then Saturday will be the boys finishing up into the placement matches. So it's an IBT, which is an individual bracketed tournament. So basically every man for themselves. They get their weight classes and they try to go through the bracket as far as they can.
So let's talk about Friday. What time is the first match on Friday? So people want to come out.
Friday, we've got I think we're starting at 3:30 p.m. So we're weigh-in sometime at 2:30. Takes about an hour to get everything set up after weigh-ins, and then we'll go right into wrestling on the 4 mats. And then Saturday, I believe, is 9 o'clock weigh-in, so probably 10:30 start, and that'll probably go to 6 p.m. And I'm sorry, Friday will probably go 9 p.m. I'm guessing maybe 10 if it gets too late.
Wow.
But
that's crazy. You gonna have concessions or food vendors there, anything like that, or?
Yeah, we'll have concession for the people checking it out, and we'll have hospitality room for the coaches and the refs. So, it's very special to us, obviously, for the John, and everybody comes back. A lot of our alumni, parents, all the people that helped out when their kids were here are coming back helping out. So it's pretty awesome to see everyone get back together for this.
And do you see a special sense of pride in these kids? Like, this is our big home event of the year. Do you see they step it up a little bit?
That'll be my pep talk. We haven't had that yet, but yes, I want that. No, you're good. I want everyone to wrestle a little harder and try to get on that podium for this event. Yep.
All right. Well, Coach, I know right now as we speak, you're in the layer. I think we call it the layer. Is that what we're going to call the wrestling room, the layer?
I don't know. I guess there was some voting here. We'll have to see what it finalized
I'm going
at.
to
But
call it the layer. You go
I
back to
like
that
it.
layer. I know they're fighting it out right now. So, Coach, I'm going to
I know.
see you probably Friday night. I'll do a quick little video because Saturday morning I've got to take my daughter back to college. So I was like, ugh. So
Yeah.
maybe next year. Maybe next year I'll get it. So I'll
Awesome.
come by Friday night. Coach Happy, thank you
Yeah.
so much for the update. Good luck to you on
Thank,
Friday and Saturday. Thank you.
thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Patrick Obley, are you there, sir? Obley, I apologize. Can you
I
hear
am
me?
here. I am
All
here.
right. So I'm going to set this up a little bit.
Oh,
I keep
now
on telling you, Coach.
you've gone mute on me, so I guess I have to do the old log out and log back in thing. I'll be right back.
All right. All right. All right, fans. So while we're doing that, I brought Mr. Obley in, and I shouldn't say that. He's doing me a huge favor here. Way back when we started, if you remember the first season, we were at Beef O'Brady's, and early on, I bumped into Mr. Obley. I'm not sure how he did it, but he was gracious enough to come on our show. We were just starting off, and I really thought that was a special memory for us. Because if you don't know our next guest, Mr. Obley, he is an award-winning writer, sports journalist, just a great human being to talk to. And over the last couple of years, we've known each other's through text messages. We bumped into each other at events. It's just been a wonderful wealth of knowledge and conversation pieces. So I had him on again last year. He came out to basketball a little bit that I saw him, and then he's leaving us, and I'll let him talk about that a little bit here in just a moment. But I'm so happy we can get him before he goes this week, and I wish him the best. But all right, let's see if he's on here.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Without further ado, Mr. Obley, why don't you introduce yourself, your current position? I know it's coming to an end. Why don't you give because our crowd might not know who you are. They know what you've written. They might not know what you look like. So why don't you give and we've grown since I last saw you. We've got over 1,200 members. So go ahead and give us an introduction here, sir.
Well, for another 4 days anyway, I'll be the sports editor at the Daily Sun newspaper, which of course covers Sarasota, Charlotte, and DeSoto counties, that sort of thing. Been doing this for 5 years. In this stint, it's my this is my 4th time back at the Daily Sun. But it all comes to an end on Friday, and I move on to another paper named the Daily Sun up in the Villages.
Yeah. So you just heard about the wrestling in the Villages. Yeah, we're talking off camera. Villages is not just retirement city. It's every age group. They've got a really high level high school program building up there as well. So when I heard there's wrestling in the Villages, I'm like, yeah, that's not just old people watching wrestling. There's legit high school level competition up there. So
yeah, when I went up there and kind of visited and kind of saw the operation, I was really surprised by there is a very large family segment to the Villages.
Someone's got to serve all those. It's like us down here. You got to serve all the elderly.
Pretty much. It's pretty much the same exact thing.
Yeah.
It's an area kind of called Middleton where the high school is, and it's all just, family housing and that sort of thing. It's like a regular town. So they've got a really nice operation up there. The paper itself is a bit of a throwback. It's a monster newspaper. Its circulation is currently the 10th largest in the United States.
Whoa!
So it's a heck of an opportunity to go up there and kind of do some things up there that I do down here. That's kind of one of the reasons why they wanted me to come on board, was to kind of bring the type of coverage that I do down here. So,
and Patrick, I don't know how long you've been in Florida for, and I mentioned this before at one of our away football games. We're at I forgot what city it was we're in. But growing up, again, this younger generation doesn't realize how important sports newspapers were before we had ESPNs and all that. And I remember very vividly Sunday morning sports section, Mr. Tom McEwen of the Tampa Tribune.
Right.
Have you heard that name at all, Tom McEwen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And just a great writer. And it's not just about who won the wins and losses. It reminded me a lot of you. Your writing is just I don't know if people down here really can appreciate the quality of your writing. It wasn't just covering the X's and O's and wins losses. You did a great job personalizing stories. You do a great job putting humanizing these things. So they're just kids. At the end of the day, they're kids. And and I don't know if you saw it or not. I tried to nominate you for a Pulitzer. I don't know if you saw
appreciate
it or not.
that.
I didn't qualify. I had to be. I think I have to be a newspaper itself. I'm like, oh dang it. So I actually tried. It was your story on. It was a boxing thing at the Olympics. I think it was an Iranian. There's like a gender issue.
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a
The whole
fantastic piece.
controversy with the boxer. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I
I
was like,
um
holy crap. So I thought it was
I
a fantastic
the
article.
whole Tom McEwen thing really strikes a chord with me because
Yeah.
he's the type of journalist that I've always tried to be.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was not, obviously he told stories. Obviously he was a good reporter when he did that part. He was a good sports editor for the Tampa Bay papers. But the
Yeah.
one thing that really stood out to me always about McEwen was how community oriented he was. He was
Right.
always about advocating for the community. He brought the Bucks in, for example.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's been that guy that's always been driving. Come to our city. We have a lot to offer.
That's awesome.
He's responsible. I think in his way. I think he was also kind of involved with bringing the Lightning to town too. So
I didn't know that.
that's something that's the kind of journalist. There's a guy that was a lot like that at the Kansas City Star where I grew up, who was the same way. Was kind of the guy behind getting the Chiefs to move up from Dallas. The guy that was kind of
Yeah.
behind the Royals coming in after the A's left, that sort of thing. And
So,
that's always been the kind of journalist I've always wanted to be, is that kind of journalist.
let's talk about legacy here then. So you said you've been here several times back and forth, Kansas to Florida, and you have a great article on that early. I posted a while back on your history and all that.
Mhm.
Let's talk about Bobcat sports and the legacies that you're seeing and first of all, we got a lot happening in town. We know about the new schools, both Imagine and Welland Park are about to pop up into existence. We know the story behind Northport losing athletes to Port Charlotte and Venice, but that's everybody now. That's not just
Mhm.
us. Everybody's bouncing all over the place. Back when we were kids, of course, you never left your school
True.
unless dad got a job somewhere out of the state. That was the only time. So let's talk a little bit of legacy here. You're a great source of knowledge. What would be your overall, if you had to summarize just the state of affairs of Northport sports, good and bad? We had a lot of turnover. As you say goodbye to this area, what is our place in this area? What do you think our place will be coming up, say, next 5 years, 10 years?
It's
What's your
interesting.
crystal ball?
Northport's always been kind of an interesting school to me because I was here right when it opened,
Mm.
and one of my various stints going back to the turn of the century. I hate to say the 1900s, but fortunately, I don't
Right.
have to worry about Northport being from the 1900s.
That's
It's
fun.
a strict 21st century creation over at Northport. But I remember being here when when the program came in, all the excitement about they've hired this coach, they've hired that coach, all that stuff was going on at that time, which is exactly the same thing that's going on right now with Welland Park. Everyone's
Yeah.
getting excited at each coach unveiling coming into Welland Park, that sort of thing, as Welland Park gets ready to open. I think the thing about Northport that I've never fully understood, and maybe it's because kind of like what you're saying about how kids don't have that allegiance anymore to their school as they used to have.
Yeah.
Um, I I've always been surprised that Northport didn't find that one sport where they just caught on and they were good at it every single year. Boys basketball looked like it was going to be that for a little bit. Um, and Garen Belzer was building something kind of cool with the football team, obviously before he left. But I've always been I've always tried to figure out why that was, why Northport never really kind of developed that sort of thing. They kind of started building that in cross country and track. Um, a
Yeah.
lot of really good kids in those two sports. I guess they're kind of related, I guess. So if you're good in one, you're probably going to be good in the other. But wrestling kind of comes up and down. They're kind of on the upswing again, I think, with Coach Nappy. Um, I think, when you look 5, 6 years down the road, Welland Park is so scary for Northport. I don't know. I don't know what to say about
Yeah.
where Northport High is going to be in the next couple of years with Welland Park sitting there. Being new, kids being able to transfer the way they can, they're gonna be tempted to try that new experience. They're gonna be tempted to go over there and see what they got over there. Could be they come back. Could be they go on to Venice. Who knows? The way transfers seem to work these days anymore. I think there's going to be a rough couple of years there coming up for Northport here as everyone kind of gets over the newness of Welland Park.
And we were talking off camera. that school right now is slated mostly for Venice and Lemon Bay High School kids zone, not counting the transfers up in the school choice area. Have you heard any whispers of the Lemon Bay and Venice reaction to Wayland Park versus St.
My
North?
impression from Lemon Bay was they didn't take as big a hit as they thought they would. And the line you hear out of Venice is they're not concerned. We'll see what that ultimately ends up being. I think Venice has reason to be concerned, whether they say it or not, because all you have to do when you look at Venice is look what happened with Pineview this year. Pineview High School, when they started up golf and tennis, they took they took the coaches away from Venice for those sports over to Pineview. Pineview Golf goes to the state tournament this year. They had a kid in the state tournament this year in golf. Their tennis team's going to be Venice's tennis team. So, so it's I think it's a little bit over the top of Venice to say they're not going to be affected that much by it. They will. The sports where you don't really expect Venice to get hurt too bad is I would say probably baseball and football. They have a really good baseball program, obviously, and their football program. Everybody wants to play for John Peacock, so even people who don't live in Venice.
So what you're thinking is, if that's the case, we'll still have the same or similar problems that we encounter now with our football program and all the non-fraternity sports like tennis and golf and all that.
Right.
So,
I think so. And it'll be, I don't know how much, I think when you look at the track team and the cross country team, you got to have a feeling that they're going to go over to Welland Park here a little bit, just by who the coaches are over at Welland Park. You got to think probably Lemon Bay gets hurt the most in football because Sasha Hire is such a great hire for the football team. And those Sarasota-based kids that used to go to Lemon Bay are definitely happily going to go to Welland Park to play football for Sasha. So people at Northport obviously know who Sasha is too.
The people with gray hair know. The kids don't know who he is. So,
that's true.
Yeah, kids will know
he was the first. I think he was the first football coach I ever dealt with over at Northport.
Oh, is it?
I think he was the first head football coach over there I dealt with. So
that's
he
a
knows what
pretty
he's
gloomy.
doing, so.
That's a pretty gloomy outlook, but it's realistic. So there is some positive though, and I do want to bring it up because spring sports is coming up soon. Of course, Coach Stevenson, Coach Tillman. They're doing solid work at basketball. But we got Coach Rowe coming up, a former coach back into it.
I'm really excited for Northport, and it's not necessarily because of Coach Rob Rowe. It's I went and covered their Little League run that they had over the summer. They got up to Tampa, got into the state. The state championships, regionals actually, and that group of kids is going to be, most of those kids are going to be with Rob, and he's got some talent there. And I believe, don't they? Maybe I'm jumping ahead on a promo for you, but don't they have a big baseball event?
They have a great leaking promo here. I tried to get them on tonight, but they're doing some testing for the kids. But yes, it's going to be the 100-inning fundraiser. It's going to be January 24th. I'm actually going to announce. I don't know if I can announce 100 innings. I'm going to do the best I can. I don't know how that's a lot for me. There's some really cool things on it. I'm going to wait till they come on next week. They're going to talk about it more. But yes, they're there. And then boom, right after that, they're February. That's when it's getting time. Right. I just put a promo up today for the softball. On our page, we like to do hey guys, it's coming up. Get your paperwork in. So that was the first spring sport. I already went ahead and put a little piece on for in the middle of winter sports season. Oh my gosh, they're already up and running. So So basketball, we're still not quite. I think Coach Stevenson's going to give a good 4-year plan. He's on year number 2 right now, and they're still a little bit struggling. I still enjoy announcing them. I see a lot of good energy and passion, and not just the players, but the kids and the way they react to their coaches on that. I think he's another year away from really stepping it up a notch here. I don't know if you've talked.
I think you're right. I think you're right on with that. He's his attitude and everything. It's so infectious. He's such a good guy. He knows what he's doing. He's a builder, kind of intimating off what you were talking about there. He's a builder, And you could see in the team this year, you know, they've already matched last year's win total, I think.
Mhm.
So it's, you know, he's going to build it and he's going to be okay with, you know, maybe this year isn't a winning season per se. He's going to try to win all those games, but he understands kind of what he has. And he's going to keep building that program. And I already see in the kids and, you know, the way they play, they're already grasping his concepts. They're already kind of buying into what he's teaching there. I think, you know, you give him another summer, he's building that,
Yep.
building that youth foundation. He's really building that really well up there. He's got a lot of summer events for kids to get keep the basketball going in the off season up there. I think you give him, please be patient with it. If you give him 5 years, it's going to be a really good team at Northport.
And you know, one of the indicators, just as a neutral observer here, the sports analyst, his first season he had one sponsor, and now he's got about 9 or 10. So right
Oh
off the
yeah.
bat, that shows you the difference in just 1 or 2 years. Like, whoa, there. And next year he'll probably have 5 or 10 more. You know, that adds to the experience. He can pay for camps, he can pay for training, he can pay for all sorts of team building, you know, new equipment, all that kind of stuff. So that
Well, you know,
factors
that's
in.
you kind of hit on something. I hope people in Northport understand this. It's such a big city. There's so many businesses there. There's so much going on with Northport. If they would just rally behind the high school, pour that sponsorship money into it. You know, support things like the Joyce tournament, the wrestling tournament. They would do more of that. I think you could really build Northport into, you know, a Venice. They could be that type of thing with that
You know,
kind of community support behind it. And there's no reason for it not to be. And I think maybe there's just so many people moving into Northport that it just takes some time to kind of build that. And I don't know what's going on with that, but it's a community that if it would rally behind the high school, big things could happen.
you know, John and I've been saying for years. It's like we don't understand. Like we're like the sleeping bear, just waiting to be poked with all
Right.
that. And
Yeah.
you know, based on what you've seen over the years, have you seen a school where similar, not exactly like normal? I know everybody's different, but what would it take to make that turn? Because we can't get the parents involved for a school this size. And I don't want to what they call it, talking shade. I don't want to.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of our parents are working. I know they're tired. But for the school we have, we struggle with boosters mightily, getting our booster numbers up. You know, and I hear every coach, they will never say it publicly, but they have such a hard time getting their parents involved, you know, to come out and be a booster parent and all that. It's like, what have you seen other schools where that's been the case? They were able to turn it around. Was it like some special, what special thing do we need to make that happen? Because John and I have been harping on this for 2.5 years now.
I'm trying to think if there's another analog like Northport out there where I've been. The closest one I can get is a school out in Utah. It was called Snow Canyon High School in St. George, Utah.
Good Lord,
And
man. How many schools do you know? Oh, God.
I've been everywhere. But that school was when that school came in, it had it came into an area that already had two other high schools, and they they had to deal with one school was really good in football, and the other one was really good in basketball and baseball.
Yeah.
And they had to kind of find their way in that, and they did so much stuff. The school itself went out in the community a ton. They got their kids out there. They got their visibility up in town, that sort of thing. And the big event that was in St. George every year was the St. George Marathon. It was the last qualifier for the Boston Marathon every year. So it was kind of important on the running schedule. Everyone would come out if they hadn't qualified for the Boston yet. They would come out to St. George and they would run it because quirky fact about the St. George Marathon, the whole thing's downhill.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It starts
Yeah.
at 5,800 feet, ends at 2,800 feet.
That's like steroid.
So,
Come on now. You can't be doing that. Exactly.
Well, people come out there. This is probably getting a little bit in the weeds about running, and I'm sure Fu would really appreciate this. Fu and Hans. People would come out there thinking they could put a killer time together running downhill the whole way, but they didn't realize how much when they're running like that, they're
Oh,
tearing up the fronts of their
yeah.
feet. They would
The
tear up their
eccentric
toes, they
running.
tear up their
Oh,
shoes, and so many people didn't finish that marathon because of that.
wow.
So yeah, people who aren't prepared for it really really struggled with it. But Snow Canyon, kind of to tie this back to Snow Canyon, they got really involved with the St. George Marathon. Their kids flooded it as volunteers. They were out there handing out cups and wearing their Snow Canyon uniforms, whatever sport it was. It was kind of funny to see the football players out there in their shoulder pads and whatnot. But they kind of went out there and they kind of did that sort of thing, and it was the most unique thing I saw any high school do, to just kind of say, "Hey, we're here,"
Right.
come help us, come support us, that sort of thing. And their third year in, their football team turned it around. The fourth year, they went to the state championship.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
long story short.
No, it's a tough one because John and I have said this before. Neither of us have kids at that school anymore.
Right.
My participation has famously been documented. I'm going down, down, down because my sites, just like yours, you have different things in your life to look at now. I've been going more to the university level to visit my daughter, and I can see myself helping. Now I've got a nephew going to FGCU. I can see myself helping them out more, and people like John and I, we can't do this forever. We like it, we love it. It's fun,
Right.
but I went from announcing 7 sports last year to maybe 2 or 3 this year. I'm like, that's volunteer. That's all volunteer time. So I want to flip it around just a little bit here, Patrick. Because we got parents out there watching whose kids might be into journalism. I know that profession has really taken a hit, or change, I should say, to the digital world more so than the paper analog world. As a sports journalist, what do you see the biggest change for a kid coming out of Newport High School? Because we do have, that kind of, we have a journalism class at the high school. What would you say to them now, like in terms of if they want to really get into sports journalism, what's the avenue they should pursue to get there? I know it's changed quite a bit since you started.
It has been so incredibly democratized by the internet, by Instagram, by YouTube. Almost anyone, if you got the 1-2 to do it, you can create your own channel, you can create your own content, and you can become you can actually get, I think, I might be overstating this, but when it comes to the FHSAA, the Florida High School League, I think if you show them you have enough of a following on YouTube, you can get accredited to go to their state championships.
Look at that. They let anybody in now. They can let me in. Oh my gosh.
So, it's one of those things where I think the media world's kind of come around to, oh, okay, they have that kind of following. They could be accredited. They can come here. I'm a member of the Associated Press Sports Editors Organization. I'm the Southeast chairman of the organization, and we vote every day on new groups that want to join our organization. And they're almost all online. They're almost all the type of things where they were this kind of comes from the other end. They're former journalists who just kind of created their own brand, their own channel, that sort of thing. And they got enough of a following that we had to, vote on whether or not to let them into the group. And, for the most part, I've waved everyone in. I've voted yes for most of these folks. And they come with, I think the best ones out there, and it's something that kids should really consider is, finding a niche, finding just that perfect thing that you can provide that no one else can. Be it, Northport Sports, for example. Daryl Nicklo Jr. up at DeSoto High does so much good multimedia content for DeSoto High. There's a couple of people that do that for Port Charlotte and and over at Charlotte. And Lemon Bay's got a guy that does stuff like that. I think that's a way to really kind of break in and kind of do your own thing. I wonder, when it comes, I'm in the newspaper business, obviously, and that's how I'll go out. I'll be in newspaper. But I think, the best training you could possibly get those still newspapers. You can't beat just the pound the pavement aspect of, newspaper journalism. Getting out there and, doing everything yourself, that sort of thing, building those sources, learning how to do interviews, all that stuff. It's on the job training all the time in, newspapers. And I still learn stuff every time I go out, frankly. And it's I would say to any kid that's out there, do your thing, whatever works. But if you could, get that journalism degree, get that communications degree, whatever it is, start out at a newspaper. Go find a newspaper, work at a newspaper for a year or two at least, and then go do your own thing. Unless you catch the bug like I did and stay in the business the rest of the way.
Patrick, we've been bugging the kids from high school. You could help us with this, and no one's ever stepped up to want to do it. I'm like, come on, guys, we'll sign on. I know we're not official, we're not AP sports recognized, but it looks we're kind of legit. We've got over 1,000 people now, so I don't know what your numbers needed, but they're not jumping on this. I'm like, come on, guys, this is still pretty cool. Oh my goodness. So Patrick, I'm gonna let you go here in a minute, but real quick, not real quick. We forgot one thing here, and it's been completely glossed over. You guys were the first to release the new football, because after baseball and track and field, we're going to go into spring football. Maybe
Right.
Coach Gale's second season with us. That'll be our last sporting event until the summertime comes in. And they released the new football districts that we're going to be jumping back into. We're no longer going to be independent. What do you think? We got Riverview, Venice. I forgot who else we have. Lakewood Ranch.
You guys landed in the group of death. You got Venice, you got Riverview, you got a up and coming Sarasota team. You got Lehigh, which they're up and down a little bit, but when they're good, they're really good. And I think Lakewood Ranch is the other one. Lakewood Ranch, they're kind of up and down too. Sometimes when they're good, they're really good. So that's there's no lollipops in that group. So it's going to be a lot of work for Coach Gales
so
to try to hang with those guys.
Is that right? 6 teams?
Yep,
in one,
it's
is
6
that
teams.
Is that pretty standard across the board everywhere else?
For the most part, I think it's anywhere from 5 to 8. They've made these new districts since what they basically did was they got rid of Class 7A and created just the 6 classes. So a bunch of teams dropped down, obviously, and some teams came up. Not many came up, but most of them dropped down. So
I
it created some interesting things. So.
I thought the move years ago by FHSAA was to add more A division so they could have more playoff money series, and now they want to contract it. Now I wonder what
what they did was they're adding an elite division where they're going to take I can't remember how many teams it was. I think it's the top 16 teams regardless of class. They're going to play in their own bracket, the elite class bracket at the end of the year, and that their thought on that was it's going to open up. Is going to open up opportunities for other teams to play in the regular playoffs. And maybe I think there's going to be a human nature aspect to that. If a team goes into its last week, seeing it's the number 16 team for elite, knowing that they're going to get smashed if they go into the elite bracket.
Terrible.
So I could see them, kind of ditching it that last week so they don't have to go into that elite division because they think they can win the state championship.
That's rules against that. That's terrible.
There should be, but human nature. So it's I don't know. I don't know if that's a good solution or not. It's a prestige move, and I think the FHSAA doesn't realize people don't necessarily play for that kind of prestige.
Right.
They don't want to be an elite semifinalist when they could be the 4A state champ. So it's
why don't they change it? Why don't you change it and have the finalists go like a Final Four at the very end, like after they set this?
I think that's a great idea.
Do that.
Do it afterwards, and
do it afterwards.
I think they would. Their whole problem with that would be they needed to shorten the season maybe to pull that off. But I don't know. It'll be different in 2 years. That's the good thing about the FHSAA. They'll just change it again. So.
They've been changing a lot. I'm like, are you part of that at all, Patrick? Do you cover that?
Nope.
I mean, they change every day. There's something changing.
They're always going to change every 2 years. They're always going to have another brilliant idea. And I think you're probably, this is prognosticating a little bit. I think you're going to see a doozy of a change in a couple of years with football. I got a feeling they're really going to lean into that district tournament format for postseason play, and they were going to do it this year, but I think they tabled it. But I bet that comes back in 2 years, where teams are told to leave their last 2 weeks open to play the district tournament, and
gotcha. Gotcha.
that's going to that'll get nutty too. So,
Well, I just, I talked while you were getting back online again. I just wanted to thank you for way back when we just started. You came on our show and gave us a lot of legitimacy. I don't know if you knew that or not. You gave us some little oomph there. I'm like, see, we
I
got
appreciate
the
that.
editor on. That was way, we really do want to thank you for that. And and I'm really glad you came on as your last thing. But I do got to say something. Your podcast, your weekly football podcast, I personally loved it because I can't keep up with all these things. I appreciate the reviews on everybody. I share it every week. I don't know if you got numbers from us, but I personally want to thank you. That's a great idea. I hope your paper can still have it somehow. I don't know who's taking over for you.
It always tailed off towards the end. That's
Yeah.
the problem with it. Our numbers always dwindled towards the end of the year, and our last regular season week is bad. And then like when we got into the postseason, when Port Charlotte and Venice were kind of the only two teams out there.
That was it.
Venice doesn't listen to us anyway, and
No, it's a good podcast.
we had Port Charlotte, but that was only Port Charlotte, so it was kind of.
I would love if they keep it alive. I'd love to do a basketball one, a baseball one, even.
I think it's coming. I think it's coming. I think
cool.
I think the push in the newspaper itself is to have more podcasts, make that sports podcast a year round sort of thing. They gotta sell it, kind of like what we're talking about with Northport. We need to have sponsors come on board for it and and sell it. So.
Oh my goodness! So your last day's Friday. Are you still on the job this week, or are you already packing up?
I am.
I'm done?
I was actually going to be over at the Northport girls game tonight, except when the boys game got canceled, I had to move Chuck. Chuck was going to cover that game. I had to move Chuck Villar over to that girls game to keep him working. So
awesome.
I always make Chuck work. I keep his nose to the grindstone. I make him go everywhere.
He does a great job. Do you know who's your successor going to be? Is that top secret, or do we know yet who's going to take?
They're closing in. They haven't made the announcement yet, but I got a good feeling. I have a good feeling who it's going to be, and I think it's going to be a great thing.
Well,
so hopefully they can get that wrapped up pretty soon.
Do you get a gold watch on the way out like the old days, or?
When I hit the 5-year mark this time, they gave me a Bluetooth speaker. So it's actually a pretty good one. I like it.
That's cool.
I use it. So
I don't think the kids know the gold watch references in the retirement, but that's okay. Oh my god. Well, Patrick, any last thoughts you can? Again, positive, negative. We need to hear it all because you are a neutral observer. And by the way, you guys have done a great job over the years highlighting the good of our program. I know we don't have sometimes years we have just a few good things, and sometimes we have more. And I do appreciate the highlighting the athletes and the games and all that. So anything you can think of, I just say goodbye to us and you go up north a little bit and start your new job.
I guess Northport specifically, I'm really biased on this. I'm a huge fan of Matt Stevenson. I could throw a rock and hit his house from where I live. But I've always been a big fan of Matt, and I thought that was probably all over the years. That's probably one of the very best hires I've ever seen at Northport. And I hope they hang on to him. I hope they let him build. I hope they let. He's going to pay off handsomely. He's going to do great things for Northport. So, that was pretty self-serving, but I'm president of the Matt Stevenson Booster Club there. But it's been fun. I've been, I kind of consider what I do as matriculating the ball down the field, taking us from one place to closer to the goal line of a perfect presentation. We're not quite there yet. I think everything's kind of set up for the next person to come in and really take it the rest of the way. I think some really fun things are coming on the horizon here for this paper and our coverage in general. I think if I could plug the Daily Sun a little bit, we were just talking about niche publications. This is what the Daily Sun is. We're in this area of the state that has no coverage from anyone else.
Right.
The high school sports here is phenomenal. And the 23 sports that we had this past year in the area, we had at least, I think 19 of the sports had state representation from this area, kids from this area at the state level. and that comes from everywhere. It comes from Northport, it comes from Venice, it comes from DeSoto County, comes from Babcock. I mean, it comes from everywhere, and that's just there's gonna be more of that when Welland Park comes online. Pineview, even. I mean, good grief.
Yeah.
So it's I think you want to support us. I guess that's what I'm getting at. We're that one entity out there, with our all area show, all that stuff that we do in June. We give kids the kind of the props, the spotlight that they wouldn't otherwise get. The Fort Myers paper isn't going to come up here. Sarasota does cover Northport, but it's Northport's one of like 30 schools for them, so it's not a big deal. I think we covered Northport's one of our main schools. It's we kind of consider it. I'm not even slighting anyone when I say this. We consider it one of our top 3 schools.
Thank you. Thank you.
Charlotte, Port Charlotte being the heart of our area, and then Northport being the other heart of our area. Those are the 3 schools that we really work to get covered and make sure we get stuff in the paper and make sure we recognize kids from those schools. It's so buy the paper.
Yeah. Hey, Pat, as an announcer to all these sports, I see you guys all the time. I see Chuck Boyer, I see yourself. I used to see Vinny Portello a long time ago.
Yep.
Bruce Robbins, I'd see him as well. So you're not every game, but because you can't, it's too much. But
Right.
I always thank you guys for coming out and support. I try to put you on the microphone, try to put down thing. Tomorrow newspaper. I do that all the time. I don't know if I ever told you that. I do that every time.
Oh, we appreciate it. We absolutely appreciate it.
Son's here. Make sure you get paper tomorrow. So, well, Patrick, it's such an honor. I wish I could see what you look like, but listen, if the Villages ever comes down to Northport area, let me know. I'll come by. We'll have to play. We'll come by for a game. Or I don't know if you ever do away games when you're that far away, but you never know. I catch up on a tournament.
I'll say this: the Villages charter basketball team is actually going to be at the Wally Keller tournament. Next week at Charlotte High. So they come down here in basketball anyway. I'm not sure about the other sports. So.
All right. Well, next weekend I might come out to that. I think Northport takes on Dunbar or something like that on a Saturday.
Yeah, they're usually Northport's usually there. Yep.
Yeah. So Patrick, thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure all these last couple of years. You helped me out. We've had a lot of texting back and forth, and you do more than people realize. You got camera duty. You got this duty. You're all over the place, man. Well, the best luck to your son and his running career. I would
like to flip that back on you. Bobcat Blitz has really become a source of news for me. You've done it even today. You kept me up to date on the boys basketball game being canceled, and it changed up our coverage plans for tonight. You guys have been fantastic. Especially when you go to the football games. The football games are on the road. We can't necessarily go on the road with most of the teams here. The updates that are happening there. You got the parents involved, putting updates up there. That's a really cool thing. Cool. So it's been a Bobcat Blitz has been a boon to us. It's really helped us out with making sure we get everything covered. So
that's the nicest thing anybody said to us. We just thought it was just a few parents who were mad. What's the score? I'm like, I don't know. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. We're not bad for 2 middle-aged guys. We're doing the best we can on our cell phones here. So good luck with everything, Patrick. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Guys, that's Chief, about to be former Chief Editor, Sports Editor of the Sun Sports Section, Mr. Patrick Obley. Guys, thank you so much. Guys, again, thank you for joining us on our opening show for 2026. Next Tuesday, I will be at the Cage. We'll be announcing a home game for them. Thursday coming up, I'll also be at the Cage. We got Charlotte coming in, take on boys basketball. We've got soccer as well. I'll have the schedules. Parents, if you're watching, I still could use some help. I don't have the scheduling for some of our sports team. I still don't have girls wrestling, or girls weightlifting has yet to get hold of me. I don't know how they're doing it all. So if you can help me out with that, I appreciate that. So with that, again, happy belated 2026. We can't wait to see how winter finishes up, and we can't wait to get started on our spring sports here in just a few more weeks. On behalf of everyone here at the Bobcat Blitz Sports Update, again, thank you, Patrick Obley. Thank you, Coach Nappy, for giving us the update. See you next Tuesday.